I've opened index.html in the Pacific Highway case study. So far we've built the HTML structure, added some content and applied some basic styles to the text. Now it's time to start controlling the layout by setting the width of some elements and using margins and padding to adjust vertical and horizontal space. By default, paragraphs and other structural elements fill all available horizontal space. If I press F4 to hide the panels in Dreamweaver, the paragraphs and article elements expand to fill the extra space. So to prevent the page from going too wide, you need to add a width to the wrapper div and center it by setting its left and right margins. So let's get to work. I'll press F4 to bring the panels back and then close the Files panel so we can see the CSS designer better, and select highway.css, and then we need to create a selector for the wrapper div. Click the plus button and type in hash, begin typing wrapper, brings up the code hints, press enter or return twice to create that selector. Width is right here at the top in the layout section. Click in there, select px, and then type in 1200. To keep things simple at this stage, I'm using a fixed width layout. Now once an element has a known width, you can center it by setting the left and right margins to auto. So if we move down to the margin tool here and click px on the left hand side and select auto from the menu that appears, and then do the same on the right hand side, the wrapper div should now be centered. Because I've got a rather narrow screen, you can't see that, so let's press F4, and you can see there's just a little bit of a margin on the left and right there, but it is actually centered. Obviously if you're on a larger screen you'll be able to see it much better. Let's press F4 to get back. Next I want to control the text in this intro article. It's much too wide at the moment. There are several ways in which I can deal with this. What I want to do is to make the text in the center only 700 pixels wide. The way in which I'm going to do it is I'm going to add padding to the intro article. So let's create a selector for that, and it will be hash intro. There it is in the code hints. Just press enter or return twice to create that. And then padding is a little bit further down in the properties pane. There it is, just underneath margin. And I'm going to set the top padding to 20 pixels by scrubbing to the right, and the bottom to 10 pixels. Now I could also scrub on the left and right, but it's probably quicker just to click inside that numeral and replace it with 250, press enter or return, and then do the same on this side, 250, press enter or return. And if I press F4, you can see that we've now got the text centered and it's no longer taking up the full width. Let's scroll down a little bit inside the page. Now these are teaser articles. In the final layout, these articles are laid out in rows of 2, so each article needs to be 600 pixels wide. But I want to give the content some breathing space, so I'm going to add 20 pixels of padding on the left and 20 pixels on the right. So that means I need to deduct 40 pixels from the width, making it 560 pixels. So let's create a style rule for the teaser class. .teaser, there it is in the code hints. First I need to set the width in the properties pane to 560 pixels, and then scroll down to the padding tool. We'll give it 20 pixels of padding on the left and 20 pixels on the right, and I'll also add 40 pixels on the top and bottom. Now at the moment the teaser articles are stacked on top of each other. I'll show you how to move them alongside each other in the lesson on floating elements. The final change I need to make is to the footer links. Let's just scroll them into view. Here we are, the footer links, and I want to make them 32% wide. So let's create a selector for them. Dot footer links, the code hint comes up straight away, and the width, that's at the top of the layout section. The width I'm going to set to %, and the value will be 32%. Now eventually they will be side by side. I'll show you how to do that in the lesson on floating elements. 32%, 3 times, that comes to 96%. I've left that extra space to make an adjustment to the footer later. So the page layout is beginning to take shape. We gave the wrapper div a fixed width and set its left and right margins to auto to center it. We also controlled the position of the text in the intro article using padding. Then the teaser articles were made half the width of the wrapper, but because there's 20 pixels of padding on the left and right of each one, I had to deduct the same amount, in other words 40 pixels, from the width to account for the standard CSS box model, in which padding is added outside an element's width. And then finally I made the footer links 32% wide.